This is the Global Travel Channel podcast show, and I'm your host, Mark Philpott. Welcome, and I'm very pleased that you're here. If you're a regular listener, welcome back to the show. If you're a first timer, thank you for joining us. I'd love to find out how you found out about the show, so why don't you drop me a note and let me know. Now, back in July 2019, when I first started the show, I had no idea where it was going to take me, and I didn't realize that I was going to have so many amazing guests come on the show and talk to me about their incredible travel experiences. Leading up to Christmas, I invited some of those guests to come back on the show and talk about what their plans were for Christmas 2019 and what were their adventures they were planning for 2020. The next two episodes are those conversations I had with some of my previous guests, so why don't we get into those now and listen to what they had to say. So it's a great warm welcome back to Chris and Hayley from Echo Lust Life. Hi guys, how are you going today?
Hey, good, thank you.
Really well, thanks, Mark.
You were just saying how warm you are over there in beautiful Europe this morning.
Yeah, no, when you can start seeing your breath, that's where I cut the line.
Fair enough. Okay, time for a segue, Chris, and we're going to move on to Christmas now. So Christmas holidays coming up soon. Are you two on the move? Where are you going to be for Christmas 2019?
Well, actually, after a year of travel, we'll be going home. So we'll be going back to about 1,000,000 degrees after a European winter. And yeah, after a year of travel, we'll be going home unemployed, homeless, broke. The only possessions to our name will be a carry-on bag of disintegrated belongings and probably a little pudgier than when we left.
Yeah, a little pudgy, a little bit more wrinkled.
But that's okay because everyone loses weight at Christmas time, I hear. That's right.
But Hayley, you said all those things as if they were negatives, but the actual thing you didn't put in the end there was you're going to be coming back very happy, right?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to going home. I really want to see my family and my dog and our friends, and we'll be going to the beach, and we'll have so many travel lessons that we learned over this year that we'll be able to take home and implement back into a new chapter of our lives.
So Chris, give me 3 of the main travel lessons that you've learnt over the last year of travelling around the world.
The three main lessons I would say is like I don't need as much clothing or I don't need as many possessions to be happy. I can be happy wearing the same thing a few days in a row, and that would be my number one. Like traveling with carry-on only, you're really restricted to what you need, and I think you just make it work. So I think everyone is very, excuse me, is very, they put up like a safety net of possessions so they're ready for anything, but you really just need bare minimum things and you'll just make it work.
Mm-hmm.
My number two would be that everything's going to be fine. Like I know in Australia, like you walk the streets and everything's put in its place and it's great, but then you come to countries like Bulgaria or South America and you can't even walk down the street without half tripping over, but it's fine too. Like it's you don't need everything to be perfect to be happy either. Like it's nice to have everything in order, but you just really need like again like bare minimum possessions, bare minimum things to be right, and it's just you and your happiness. So I think there are a couple of big lessons I've learned. And my third lesson would be um, finding community is very important no matter where you are in the world, like connecting with like-minded people and putting yourself out there to really have those connections really enhances your life.
Do you think you two have developed and evolved in that area, particularly because of the travel that you've experienced this year?
Yeah, we've definitely roughed it and we've just had to adapt. And we learnt that we don't like some things and we do have some breaking points, but it definitely develops your resilience.
Mm.
Yeah, and I
So
think
what?
coming back to the community thing, it's like we've traveled fast for a lot of our time and it's hard to create a community, but being in a place like we are now in Plovdiv, Bulgaria, having those 2 months here, we really created a little community and put ourselves out there. And I think we were really craving that after so long of being transient, and that's very important to us, which we've found.
Mm.
Mm. Belonging to that tribe, eh?
Yeah, and we'll take those values back home. We've always had the same friends and family, but we realized how important those relationships are to us and how much we really want to make them a big part of our lives rather than just catching up every now and then. We want to really be part of our loved ones' lives.
Hmm. Do you think people in general, and we're coming into that period of year now where a lot of people, particularly in families, get together over the Christmas period, and it seems to be a bit of a two-edged sword. It seems to be that it can go very, very well for a lot of people, but then it can also be a very stressful time of the year. So do you think people go into this period of the year with the kind of same inclination as you have to try and really value all of those moments together?
I don't think everyone goes into it with that purpose or mindset, but we're really lucky with our families because everyone's quite relaxed. No one needs to make a big to do about Christmas. It's just about relaxing, spending time together, and having good food. And both of our families do Secret Santa, so we only have to buy one present each. So that takes a lot of stress away, and it's not really a consumer holiday for us, it's more about relaxing.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm,
I think there's a lot of pressure around obligations and like we have to go here and we have to do this and we have to get each other this. And I think it's a very built up, stressful time of year, like coming to the end of your work year and you're reflecting on the whole year and hopefully you've achieved what you want to achieve, or some people might feel like they've wasted the year or it's just another year gone. And I think when you're coming into it with that and then you're having all these obligations, it can just be a very stressful time with a lot of pressure around it
mm.
as well.
But it doesn't have to be. You can craft the season in a way that suits you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you're going to be leaving Europe behind, which is dark and cold at the moment. Have you had a chance to see any of the Christmas festivals and lights and that starting to come out in Europe?
We're going to Brussels next week, so we're
Mm.
really looking forward to seeing some Christmas markets. And there was supposed to be an ice skating rink set up here in Plovdiv, but I think typical Bulgarian, it might be ready by next Christmas.
Well, you're going to Brussels, which is my old hometown. That's where I was based for nearly 13 years of my life. So make sure you go to the Grand Place, which is downtown in the middle of the town, because they set up an ice skating ring there, and it's absolutely beautiful at this time of the year.
Perfect.
And you'll be able to get lots of pommes frites and mayonnaise, and of course Belgium has the best chocolate in the world. So
And
I'm
waffles
sure
and
you
beer.
and waffles and beer. So Hayley, you can probably aim to come back to Australia about 13 kilos heavier than when you left.
I'm okay with that.
But no, seriously, it's great to go and experience that in Brussels. So, what will Christmas be like back in Australia? Will it be beach, sand, and surf, or how do you spend it?
Well, we're in the city, so no beach. And we haven't really worked out the logistics between our family homes, but we'll see everyone at some stage, and it will pretty much just be eating, drinking. My family all gets books, so probably reading at some stage.
Hmm.
And then we'll go back to the house that we'll be house sitting, and there's a pool there.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Well, you'll be able to do that, and you're also, don't forget, you've been invited to go sailing as well when you come back.
Yes, looking forward to that.
Now, what does 2020 hold for you two? It's a start of a new decade in life. You've got all these lessons that you've learned from this last year of travelling. So, how are you going to put that to good use next year?
Yeah, we're just going to continue with our podcast and our sustainable and intentional living platforms. We're looking to, ramp those up and start creating workshops and retreats as of 2020 to bring that community aspect to it as well and really give big value to a small number of people and connect with them in a deeper way to try and influence a community to then be able to go back home and influence their community. So really want to start the ball rolling on those things. Um, we're going to keep with the nomad life with the house sitting. We have friends in a lot of different states throughout Australia, and we haven't been able to see much of Australia ourselves. So we're looking forward to, you know, dotting ourselves around Australia and looking after animals and catching up with friends and making new friends in different parts of Australia. But We are hoping to travel again next year, but I think it'll be more towards the end of the year when we're really settled and we have a bit more money behind us as well.
Mm. Well, I'm sure that you've inspired many on your journey so far this year and will continue to do so as you go forward. I'd like to thank you very much on behalf of my platform for coming on and sharing your journey so far. I'd love to stay in touch, because we want to hear how everything goes from Echo Lust Life and from house sitting and everything else that you guys get up to. So wishing you a very safe return from Europe to Down Under, and have a great Christmas, and I'm sure we'll be speaking again soon.
Thank you. Looking forward to coming to see you on your boat and see your dog, and have a very Merry Christmas.
We will, and Oscar's ready to welcome every guest, so he'll be barking upon your arrival, that's for sure.
Looking forward. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, guys, speak soon. See you later.
Bye.
So it's a really warm welcome back to the Global Travel Channel podcast show to Mark Cunich. Mark, welcome back to the show.
G'day, nice to hear from you.
Now, last time we chatted, we were talking about your trip around Australia by road, and you started to give my listeners a wonderful insight to what life was going to be like on the road. So you can give us another update now quickly on how's it all going?
Yeah, it's going really well. It's been a busy year. Turns out Australia is pretty big. So we've barely made a dent in the trip around Australia. We've travelled about 4,000 kilometres so far from Melbourne up the east coast and halfway back down again, which is equivalent to going the whole way across America. But it's probably about a third of, or even less, of the coast of Australia. So we're just getting started, and just getting into the rhythm of things at the moment.
So what is the rhythm of things, as you put it? Tell us about a typical day in the life of you guys on the road.
Yeah, I'm still trying to work full time, so I'm trying to still do 6 to 8 hours on my computer per day. And Tiffany, who's my partner, who's traveling with me, she's also trying to work about half the time. So she works in a 1 block month here and there. So our daily schedule is revolving around that. So we're still trying to get out and go to the gym, trying to travel for a couple of hours a day, find somewhere nice to stay, go to the beach, take Kramer for a walk, and then try and do some work. So getting away from work hasn't really been the objective. It's to be combining work and travel. And we've just been trying to get in the rhythm of finding that right balance to be able to actually enjoy the places we've been going and still be able to do all of our work.
That's a really good point. And there's many listeners on the show who are in that contemplating stage on whether they're going to leave their job and go on the road, or whether they're going to try and be digital nomads. I guess you talked about the word balance. What are you finding the most hardest part of this lifestyle so far?
There's actually a fair bit of guilt in walking away from the norm. People expect you to be working 8-hour days minimum. And I sort of have that expectation that I put on myself as well. And I have the luxury of working for my own business. So I can adjust those hours, but there's still this sort of guilt that I have to do that number of hours. And walking away from that isn't as easy as it might sound. And so that's one of the difficulties. The other, of course, is you pull up the truck at a beautiful beach, and you have the option of going for a walk along the beach for an hour or two, or sitting down and doing work. And debating that with yourself's a difficult task.
So how's that been as far as the interaction you've had with your friends and your community online that are watching your journey? Has that added to the guilt, or has it actually made you realise that you're doing the right thing for your lifestyle?
It's a mixed bag. There are a few people who are quite jealous of what we're doing, a lot of people, in fact, and they sort of jokingly give us grief about what we're doing. But then on the other hand, I know that they truly are excited for what we're doing and encouraging us to do it. So it's a mixed bag of reactions from people. But we're doing this for ourselves. It's not for anyone else. We don't have to meet anyone's expectations or fit the norm. You're just having to grasp with the idea that it's for us.
That's not quite right though, mate, because I have an expectation of you.
I know. I've probably let you down.
No. I was just going to jokingly say that my expectation is you're going to come back on the Global Travel Channel podcast show next year from one of your idyllic locations around Australia, and you're going to report into my listeners on how it's all going. Would you like to do that?
I would love to do that. Keep you up to date with how I'm going with finding the right balance and where we're up to in the travel around the world.
Yeah, that'd be really good. And I got a lot of feedback from our previous show on people who were interested in the kind of, the technical details behind, they loved your story about how you found your truck that you're in, and they want to know a lot more of those practical things. So maybe on the next show we can talk about how those practical things have actually come to fruition in terms of, is it the right type of truck? What are some of the challenges with that, and all the other practical things that help people make these travel decisions for their life?
Absolutely, yeah. The practical side of things, we're still learning as we go, and I think it's something that we'll continue to learn throughout the whole time. But yeah, it is a learning curve, and I think the best part about all of this is just jump in and do it and learn on the road.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
this year.
Now, what's the plans for Christmas? Are you going to be still on the road over Christmas?
So we've come back down past Sydney, and we're about 2 hours south of Sydney. Got my brother and wife and their nephew. My nephew, we're down here, and my parents are down here in a beach house for a few weeks. Tiffany's working, and we're all lazing at the beach house.
Oh, lovely. Now, I realise that you've got a very smart social media strategy. Your nephew's fast becoming an Instagram star.
It's so cute. Competing with my dog Kramer for all the
yes.
photos and, Instagram presence.
You'll be able to step back for a few weeks and just let those two run the show, mate.
Exactly. Yeah. Kramer's a star of his own. I haven't actually posted anything on my own Instagram for a while. It's all about him.
Yeah, cool. And what are the kind of timetable as far as getting back on the road for next year? When will you head off again?
So we'll probably head off at the start of the new year and head south, where I've got a fair bit of overseas travel with my work. I organise conferences overseas for doctors and dentists. So I'm spending about 6 months next year overseas in various locations. So I've got a month at home and a month away, non-stop all year. We're probably going to get down to Melbourne or Adelaide by mid to late 2020. So at this moment, it's looking at it like our trip will take about 2 years to get around Australia with everything else that's going on.
I'll hold you to that, because I'm sure we'll come back in future episodes and see how that timeline's blowing out as well.
Yeah, there could be worse things. Yeah, that's true.
Well, listen, before I let you go, I want to just wish you and all your family a wonderful Christmas, and down there in Kiama on the New South Wales coast, a beautiful spot to enjoy Christmas festivities. I was very honoured and pleased that I ran into you in a park in Scarborough while we were both walking our puppies and made this connection. So thank you very much for coming on my show and sharing all this thing with my listeners. And can't wait to catch up next year again, Mark.
Thanks, mate, and enjoy the podcast. Keep him coming. Loving him.
And it's an extremely warm welcome back to the Global Travel Channel podcast show to Donna Salter. Donna, how are you today?
I'm great, thanks.
Welcome to the Christmas special, and we're doing a short series from all of the guests that have been on the show this year about their Christmas plans, what they're doing for next year, where they are at the moment, and basically how's your travels been in 2019. So look, why don't we start off with that? How have your amazing travels been this year in 2019?
I've had a very interesting year, and I've covered a lot of countries and seen most of the places that I really had on my list. And kind of ended up losing luggage in the Moscow airport and thinking, I'm kind of tired of this travel and stuff at this point. But I'm in Australia now and enjoying the lovely hot weather, and that's it.
Well, I was going to say that this is the closest we've been so far of actually meeting each other in person, but you're still 2,000 kilometres away.
I know. I had planned to come to Brisbane and take the train to Cairns. I can't even pronounce it. But because of the Moscow situation, I just ran out of time. So.
Yeah, fair enough. So, recapping on this year, what would you say has been the highlight, if you can possibly pull out one? Is there one, I guess, not just destination that you were at, but the experience that you had this year? Was there one that sticks out more than the others?
Well, I would say probably Sarajevo sticks out more than the others, just in terms of interest. I saw some beautiful places. I loved Portugal. I loved Ireland. But Sarajevo, as a point of interest, surprised me and saddened me in a way.
So would you recommend it for somebody who's traveling, who wants to see what? What does Sarajevo particularly have that would interest people who would like to go and travel there?
Well, it has a recent history, and it's had a recent war, and it's kind of a warning about, we take democracy for granted, and it's something that shouldn't be taken for granted.
Okay, so somebody that's interested in history, but also a bit of an eye-opening experience, I would say, in Sarajevo.
It's an eye-opening experience, and it's kind of where East and West meet, and it's been very peaceful for a long time, but things can erupt, and old realities and old harsh history can come back and very quickly erupt into something terrible, and that's what happened in Sarajevo, and so it was a real eye-opening experience for me.
Probably a great time of the year for us all to reflect on that sort of thing when we're with family and loved ones over the Christmas holiday season. It's not all joyous around the world in lots of different places, and we should be mindful of that as well.
Yes, I agree.
So Christmas in far north Queensland, that's going to be a different experience for you, a rather hot place to be having a white Christmas, so to speak.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing Christmas. I mean, there's a Christmas tree here, and it's just interesting seeing Christmas decorations in the heat. But it's beautiful. It's a lovely, lovely place, and it's very different than what I expected.
Yeah, it's different to be able to go to the beach during Christmas time than what a lot of the Northern Hemisphere people are used to, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, 2020, a new decade. You've been on the road a long time. What have you got planned for next year?
I think next year I may be going home for a while, or home to go to. And I don't know, that could either be New York or Vancouver, I'm not sure. And then I do have a house sit in San Francisco in the summertime, so I will go there. And I think I'm going to stop traveling for a bit and stay in one place and settle down.
Interested to hear about that, and what I might like to suggest is we do a show early next year sometime and have a chat about that, because you are someone that's been on the road a long time. You've seen a lot of things, and you're not the only one that said to me during this Christmas episode thing that it's time to actually put some roots, get a nest, have a base camp and get off the road for a while. So I'd be interested in exploring that subject with you a little bit more as well.
Yeah, sometimes you get on another airplane and you think, I'm not doing this again, am I? But then you get someplace, like I arrived here, and this really feels like home to me, and everybody speaks my language and everybody's nice. But I think I want to be in the West again and put down some roots.
Interesting. Okay. Well, listen, I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. You were one of the very first supporters of the Global Travel Channel. You've introduced me to some amazing guests that I've had on the show this year. I'm very thankful and grateful for that. And it's fantastic to have you in Australia, even though you're a long way up the road. So enjoy your Christmas time. And I extremely much look forward to having you back on the show next year.
Thanks a lot. And I hope you have a great Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thanks, Donna. So it's Ewan and Sophie back on the show. Hello, guys.
Kia ora.
Good evening, good evening.
Where are you today?
We are still in Nicaragua, beautiful Central America, surfing it up on the west coast.
Have you got your citizenship yet?
You'd almost think.
Yeah, pretty close, I think. Yeah, it can't be too far away.
Well, as we all know, you guys were on my show earlier this year, not so long ago, and amazing story, kayaking around Antarctica. I've had some amazing feedback from the listeners about that and in awe of what you guys did. And I've had quite a lot of people contact me that have been down to Antarctica on the sightseeing trips as well, on the ships and that. And yeah, they gave me some of their insights. So it's been interesting to hear feedback from that. So thank you very much for sharing that. And it's great to have you back, and we want to hear today about your Christmas plans. What are you going to be doing for Christmas this year?
Well, funnily enough, we'll be spending just another Christmas in Antarctica. It's kind of... I think maybe out of the last 8 Christmases, we've probably done at least 6 or 7 in the Antarctic.
Yep. That seems to be... We're now fans of the white Christmas. And in the Southern Hemisphere, this is really the only given way you can get a white Christmas. So we'll be hanging out with some penguins and whales and seals, oh my, and singing Christmas carols. It'll be good.
Fantastic. So tell us, give us all, us people that don't get down to that part of the world or haven't been there yet, what is it like at Christmas time down there?
It's quite an interesting atmosphere, actually. Some of our guests come along deliberately on a Christmas voyage to try and escape and run away from Christmas.
Too much Christmas.
And other people are coming on their Christmas vacation and they really want to get into the whole Christmas vibe and spirit. It's kind of this odd
balance.
Odd feeling sometimes. But no, generally it's just a day. There's no hoo-ha and carry on pre-Christmas. Just good celebration on the day, and we're often out kayaking amongst the ice or looking at the penguins on shore or something. So it's just a beautiful way to celebrate, and a few Christmas carols and a bit of good food.
Yeah, good food, a nice celebration in the dining room,
and how many
lots of people wearing Christmas hats.
How many people will be on this particular trip?
We'll probably have in the order of about 70, 75, 80 people.
Oh, okay, so it's quite a gathering.
And kind of...
Yeah, it's our extended family.
About maybe like a 60 to 80 crew as well. And so the crew, they're kind of a big family. We sometimes forget about these people that work behind the scenes in lots of the tourism industry, but many of them are Filipinos. They spend many months away from their families year round, and they are one big family, and we get to tag in with them a little bit as well. And
we love being a part of their family and celebrating these holidays with them.
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
They sure know how to celebrate.
I bet they do.
Yeah, Filipinos can celebrate. Heck yeah.
I guess there'll be lots of karaoke. That's one thing I know.
Yeah, you know it. Oh yeah.
No end of wonderful karaoke.
Okay, now I say tongue-in-cheek that you guys have had a pretty quiet year, and 2019's just kind of meandered along for you two. So what are the plans for 2020?
Actually, 2020 is looking pretty hectic for us.
Especially
we've got a lot of carbon offsetting to do to offset all these flights we're about to take. We start the year in the Antarctic for a few months. Then we head and do some work. Ship-based work on the east coast of Australia and up into Southeast Asia. Then we head into Papua New Guinea and do some sea kayak expeditions in a remote part of Papua New Guinea.
Then we're off to Norway.
Then we shoot through to Norway for a couple of months, doing some work up there. Maybe thinking about heading into Albania or somewhere for a brief hiatus, a little break. Possibly some more work in the South Pacific or Southeast Asia, and then
Alaska.
Later on maybe Alaska, and then
back to Antarctica.
It sounds like a fairly boring year, really, when you look at it in that context.
Time to make up for our slow 2019.
Yeah.
I'm almost at a stage now where I'm going to start putting a thing on my websites that says, "Where's Ewan and Sophie today?"
Yeah, we can barely keep up. Our family sometimes asks us to kind of keep them abreast of our travels, and
it's pretty funny.
Yeah,
we need to hire a PA just to do that.
Brilliant. Well, listen, it's been fabulous having you guys on my show. I really loved it, and I'd love to have you back next year when you're doing any one of your travels. You can come back and talk to us about it all. And I wish you a really great Christmas and have a fantastic time down there in the whiteness of the Antarctica. And be safe, look after everyone, but have a great time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, mate. And Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to all your followers. Your great big family out there.
So it's a g'day and a warm welcome to Trevor Builder back on the Global Travel Channel podcast show. Good morning, Trevor.
Good morning, Mark. Thanks for having us.
How's smoky, hazy, dusty Sydney today?
Yeah, well, we could do without the smoke, but I guess that's one of the problems that we're living at this stage. It's the climate's changing, and unfortunately, with that comes bushfires, and especially entering the summer season.
Yeah. Well, listen, you came on my show earlier in the year and you talked about all your wonderful trekking adventures for Project 8000, which is to go to the 14 base camps of the major summits in the world. That was a fantastic story. And leading up to Christmas time, have you got any plans on travelling over Christmas?
The great news about that is no. We've been on the road, the last 3 Christmas, New Year's overseas. So it's going to be fantastic to spend the Christmas and the New Year watching the fireworks in Sydney and lapping it up, because half of Sydney disappear, and therefore you almost feel like you are the only person around.
Yeah, I love that, because a lot of my guests so far that I've been talking to on doing the recap for the year have talked about, yep, I'm going off here and I'm off there, and I thought, well, I wonder if anybody actually ever stays home. So you're the guy. You're the guy that stays home.
However, for 2020, that's a different story.
So what are you up to next year? What are the plans for you and Emma next year?
So big plans. So we have to, when I say have to, we set ourselves a goal to complete all the 14 base camps of the world's 8,000 metre mountains by the end of 2020. So next year we have 8 to do. We've already done 6. So that concludes around 3 or 4 months minimum away from home. So, a few months in the Himalayas, a month or so in Pakistan, and in the process writing my book, which is Mental is Everything. So a busy
fantastic.
year.
Well, you're not going to have a moment to spare by the sound of it next year. And listen, I would love to catch up with you guys while you're on the road somewhere. That'd be good to do a show while you're out there doing it all, and you can recap with my audience about all the wonderful things that you're doing.
Absolutely, I'd love
Okay.
to. Yep.
Terrific. Well, listen, you and Emma have a fantastic Christmas. Enjoy Sydney town and all the rest that associated with that, and we'll catch up with you in the new year. Trevor Builder.
Thanks, Mark, and let's make 2020 the year of the 10 years of the decade.
Absolutely. I'm onto it. Thanks, mate.
Okay, cheers.
Hi, Global Travel Channel podcast listeners. My name is Scott Gurian. You might remember me from a number of months ago. Mark had me on his show talking about my own podcast, Far From Home, and this crazy road trip I took a few years ago where I drove all the way from the UK to Mongolia and back in a little tiny car. So I'm doing quite a bit of traveling over the holidays this year. Actually, the first week in December, I won this hotel stay in Alaska. So my brother and I are going to Fairbanks for about a week. We're going to go see the Northern Lights, learn how to dog sled, and do this sport called ski joring, which is basically like cross-country skiing, except you're pulled across the snow and ice by a dog, which looks pretty cool. I come home from Alaska. I'm home for about a week. Then I go off to complete other extreme, from the cold to the heat, go to the Caribbean, in the country of Antigua and Barbuda, working on a radio story. I'm a journalist and I work in public radio, so I'm going to be working on a radio story for National Public Radio about things on the island of Barbuda, how they're still recovering from Hurricane Irma a number of years ago. And then from there, my brother and I were planning to go to Colombia, to Bogota, over Christmas and New Year's. But we kind of waited too long and our flights got expensive, and also there's a bit of turmoil in Colombia right now. So instead, we're going to Puerto Rico. Not terribly exciting, but I've never been there and it's kind of on my list. So it should be interesting. I'm actually going to spend several weeks there to really get to see the place and look for some interesting stories for the future season of my podcast. And I have a friend who lives there as well, so he'll be able to help show me around. And looking forward to doing a bunch more traveling after the new year. Hope all of you might have some interesting travel plans in your future as well.
So it's a very warm welcome back to the Global Travel Channel podcast show to Janina and Jim Stromfield. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, it's good to be back.
How are you both?
Yeah, we're good.
You've been tripping around since I last spoke to you?
We've been to, where we've been? Vienna,
Vienna, yes.
Bratislava and Colmar since we spoke to you last time, I think.
Fantastic. So you've almost come to the end of 2019. You've had some great trips this year. Anything in particular stick in your memory for both of you?
For me, it's got to be Georgia, without a shadow of a doubt.
What was it about Georgia, Janina?
Just very, very different, and full of surprises. And that it was really nice to go and find out so much about somewhere that we didn't really know that much about before we went.
What made you choose to go there?
Well, it's somewhere that had been on my radar for a little while, and I've been trying to convince Janina to go, and I think she perhaps looked at something on Twitter or something, and that made her think, oh, actually it's looking quite interesting now, and so we went for it.
Fantastic. And what about you, Jim? Where's your number one spot for this year's travel adventures?
I mean, Georgia's got to be a contender for me as well, really, but close run thing with Argentina, which we spent the summer in. We went sort of a little bit more off the beaten path than the normal route, perhaps, and that was really good fun. And then we finished up at Iguazu Falls, which were just spectacular.
Brilliant. Now, we're rushing through our Christmas special at the moment. I've had most of the guests back on talking about what they're going to be doing this Christmas, 2019. What are you two up to this year at Christmas time?
Well, we're off to Cape Verde on the 27th for our annual Let's Have Some Sun in the English Winter. And so it's 5 days lounging around on the beach, getting as much vitamin D as possible. And then on the way back, we're having a stopover in Lisbon so we can do some sort of sightseeing parts as well.
Brilliant. So you'll be gone in total for, what, 5 or 6 days?
I think we might be away for 8 days.
It's
8 days in
yeah,
total.
7 or 8.
Okay, brilliant. Now, what does Christmas away look like for you two? What do you actually do? You participate in the normal Christmas celebrations while you're travelling, or do you get all of that done before you fly away on the 27th?
No, we're doing it before we fly away this year. So we're going up to Cambridge to stay with Janina's mum, and we do Polish Christmas Eve up there, and then Christmas Day as well.
Wonderful. Now, 2020 is a new decade, and all of us travel addicts have got lots of plans, I'm sure. What have you two got planned for the first year of the new decade next year?
Oh, so much. So we're starting in January with Bilbao.
And then February we're going to Kiev and Minsk.
March we are off to Toulouse in France.
And then April we're going through Hungary, Serbia, Kosovo, Macedonia, Bulgaria.
Just a quick nip through. And then we are off to Guernsey in May, and we are taking our niece and nephew away for the first time to Romania, which will be really exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
And
now the question that begs me to ask after listening to those destinations that you've just rattled off every month, is school out next year, is it? No school next year?
No, we've still got school, but we get holiday every sort of 7 weeks or so we go away for 3 or 4 days then, and then we go away for a weekend as well. So sort of Bilbao and Toulouse and Guernsey are all just weekend trips.
Yeah, right. Okay, fantastic. Well, it just goes to show, and you two are renowned for this, you're able to jam all of these trips into your lifestyle as well as working rapidly as school teachers. So I know from the episode that you did with us, you've inspired a lot of people who have written in and told us about, wow, this is great that these people go out and actually enjoy as many trips as they can, even though they've got full-time jobs. So fantastic that you're going to be doing that again next year as well. Tell us before you head off today, what are the kind of the main things that you've learned about yourselves on the trips that you've been on this year? Anything that comes to mind that has expanded your own personal development?
Well, I suppose I've learnt to listen to Jim. That's a hard one to say, but he's been banging on about Georgia for the last couple of years, and it was my favourite trip this year, and so just be even more open-minded about places to go, I think.
And how about you, Jim?
Well, for me, I think
you would have loved listening to that last comment by Janina.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives me some hope we might be able to go to Iran one day, which is my my number one place I want to go.
Oh yes, yes.
But no, for me, I think in the summer we spent 3 weeks or so in South America, and it was the opportunity to actually try and speak a bit more Spanish, which has been really good. So I've really liked the fact that I've been able to speak a little bit of another language and understand actually a little bit more of what's coming back, which is good.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Absolutely good. Well, listen, it's been fantastic having you on the show. Would love to catch up with you both again next year and tell us a bit more about some of the trips you've been on. If you'd like to come back on the show, we'd love to have you back on the show. And before I let you head off, have a wonderful Christmas, a safe trip to all the parts that you're going to go to next year, and we'll see you back on the Global Travel Channel show.
Thank you, Mark, and a really, really lovely Christmas to you too.
Thank you both. We'll speak again soon. So there we go, our first group of guests back from 2019 talking about their Christmas and New Year travel plans. We had Chris and Hayley from Eco Lust Life Sustainable Intentional Living. Check out their Facebook page, they've got some really cool stuff going on there. Mark Cunich, who's travelling around Australia by road with his partner and their dog Kramer. They're having a fun time learning all about living and working on the road and achieving that balanced lifestyle dream. Donna Salter, who's currently in Australia. Welcome to Australia, Donna. And Donna's been house sitting her way around the world for a number of years now and is very experienced on that particular profession. We had Ewan and Sophie, who are our Antarctica specialists, that's what I'm calling them now. And they went down there again for Christmas time in 2019. Trevor Builder, who was from Sydney, and Trevor was talking to us about his amazing project, 8,000 Summits, which is all about getting to the base camps of the 14 8,000 metre mountains around the world, and him and his partner Emma are going to be finishing that project in 2020. Scott Gurian, who's a fellow podcaster from the United States. Scott's a digital nomad and is currently traveling all over the world making fantastic content. Check out his stuff online. And Jim and Janina, two school teachers from the UK who use their school holidays very wisely to see all different parts of the world. So a fantastic array of different diversified travellers. Hope you all enjoyed listening to their Christmas and New Year plans. Now, if you want to hear more of the Global Travel Channel podcast show, head on over to our website at www.globaltravelchannel.com. You'll find all of our previous episodes that were produced in 2019 there. You can also download them from places like Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, iTunes, and a whole list of others, which are all listed there on our website. Don't forget, if you like our content, please tell a friend or a family member or work colleague about the Global Travel Channel podcast. We want to get as many people in 2020 listening to our show as possible. Okay, so it's time for me to head off and put together part 2 of this episode of the Christmas special. So why don't you check that out after you've listened to this one. And my name is Mark Philpott. Until we meet again next time, I wish you all a happy new year and bon voyage.